Okay, so now we're going to assemble all the parts and pieces. So over here we have our two sides, our two web frames, and our bottom. We need a way to secure the web frame into the sides so it won't flop around, and also strengthen the project. So what we're going to do is create a groove for what are called splines. This is a step where I do it for you. So once you're at this step and it looks good, then come see me and I'll cut your spline slots for you. So over here we have the table saw set up to make all those cuts. And the process will look like this. So over here we have a slot, and into that slot will go a spline. So the spline locks into that slot, and then the web frame will lock into there, creating a way to align our web frame and also adding glue surface so it'll make it nice and strong. Off camera, I'll cut the rest of the slots and then we'll glue it up. Okay, so now we're going to dry fit everything together to make sure it fits. So on our side pieces, we have 3 spots for some splines, and we'll see if this all goes together.
If it does, what we'll do is just go ahead and glue it together here. So I'm going to just check to make sure that our web frames fit, bottom fits. Line that up like that. Put this up, splines, put the splines in here. This part can be a little bit tricky.
So it looks like we're doing pretty good. What I'm going to do is even up right here to make sure that that's all where it wants to be. So I'm going to tap that with my fingers here, line it up, line it up, line it up. And that's the way it should look. Now, like everything else, we got to dry clamp it and make sure it fits. Take it apart and then glue it together. So when you dry clamp or any kind of gluing on this project, we want to use these kind of clamps. And when you clamp it together, you need to make sure that the clamp stays parallel with either the web frame or the bottom. So that's a good situation right there. If it wasn't good, this is what it would look like. This is exaggerated, but you can see how if you tighten that up, if you stand back a little bit, you can see the angle that it's on now. The angle is caused by the clamp not being parallel or even with that web frame. So I'm going to dry clamp this together, make sure it looks good, and we'll do that off camera. Okay, so now I got it all dry clamped, no glue. What I'm looking for here is to make sure that all of my clamps are even with either a bottom or a web frame, and that my web frames are even with the sides. So let me show you an example of what a bad situation might look like. If I take this and, again, this is exaggerated, but that wouldn't be so good. So make sure it's not like that, but nice and even like that. Okay, so now it comes time to glue it together. When you glue it together, you want to dry clamp the same day you glue. So we're going to set all our clamps aside. We're not going to adjust them. We're just going to keep them right there. They're in the open position so that we can just go ahead and grab them when we're ready and not have to try to chase around clamps and look for anything. So we're good there. Good there. And so that's all set aside. Grab our nightstand, flip it over, pop our top, bottom side, and then set these aside. Pull our splines. Okay, so how much glue to put on? So we're going to be putting about might be a little thick there. We're going to coat our splines with about that much glue. So I'll do that to all my splines and put it back together just the way I had it dry clamped. And I'll do that. Okay, so I'm about done with the gluing. I'm gonna put the next side on and make sure that my web frames are lined up. You're looking at the front, I'm looking at the back right now. And again, this part can be a little bit tricky. So just take your time, make sure you pop it in. I'll set this upright. Feel this, feel that, make sure it's all even. A little bit of futzing now saves a lot of time later. All right, so once we get one clamp on, sometimes it's just kind of handy to throw a clamp on it like this. Even though it's not in the right position, it'll kind of lock things together while you get the clamps in the right position. So we'll just kind of do our thing here. We got our clamps right there, ready to go. We're not trying to run around trying to find them. Nice and even there. Now that that's locked together, I'll rotate it, get it nice and even there. Sometimes it helps if you have a friend helping you out here. And then what I'll do on this one, flip it like that so I can get my bottom clamp on. It's even and even, so go ahead and tighten that one up. All right, so all those figured out, we'll flip it over. Even that one up. Flip it upside, right side up. Take a look at it, make sure it looks square. I'm standing back where the cameraman is, and it looks nice and square. It's not on an angle. Once we like that, then we can let it cook overnight. Okay.